Hi, friends. Giving everyone a moment to hop on. Hey, Diana. How are you doing? I'm just giving folks a few moments to hop on and how are you doing? Make sure you can you hear me okay? Make sure that my sound's picking up. Yeah, awesome. Doing good. Doing good. Hanging in there. Trying to see what's the latest, greatest news in the world of benefits. I am Lori. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yesterday was a tough day, but we made it through it. All right, I'm going to give it another couple of minutes. Will do. Will do. I was trying to pull up the latest from OSHA. I know they issued something. Yeah, there it is. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. It is a couple minutes after 2, and this is Tuesday Talk with Bim Group. I am your host, Deanna Sizemore, Director of Compliance with Bim Group. I know a couple of folks I can see on here, you know me, and you're here every other Tuesday, and I appreciate that support. So let's jump right in. I don't think today will be too terribly long, but as always, if you have questions or you think of something not even related to anything we're talking about that's compliance or related, feel free to pop those questions in the chat. Be happy to answer those at any time. If you have questions about what we're going over, obviously ask those. You know, if you think of it after the fact, you can always email me or call me through BIM, and it's deanna@bimgroup.us, or our main number 859-255-9455, extension 123. Excuse me just a minute while I get a drink. Got a little choked up. Ragweed and rain, Kentucky. Yay. Okay, so first and foremost, coming up about 6 weeks from today is the deadline for Medicare Part D credible coverage notices to be given to Medicare eligible participants, and that includes spouses and dependent children. The Medicare Part D credible coverage notice is included in the Bim Group open enrollment packet that you get. The deadline for that to be distributed is October 15th of every year. If you have given that notice out in the prior 12 months, you satisfy the October 15th deadline. If you have not given that out since last October 15th, then you need to try to get it out by October 15th of this year. And if you need an updated notice, myself or your account executive, account manager can help you. But if you're giving those out at open enrollment, everybody that's a BIM client should be on task and not be behind and have already completed that. If you are a January 1 renewal, you may not have your open enrollment notices yet for 2021. Again, that's okay, because last year you probably gave the 2020 notices sometime in November, December, so it's been 12 months and you've got that covered. So just a reminder that Medicare Part D credible coverage notices need to be given to Medicare eligible participants. Again, that's employees, spouses, and dependent children. You can satisfy that requirement by, mailing it to the homes, giving it to the employee. Essentially, the Medicare Part D notice tells that person if your prescription drug plan is equal to or better than Medicare. And if it is, they don't have to enroll in Medicare Part D, and there's no penalty. If it is not greater or equal to your Medicare, if your employer plan is not equal to or greater than the Medicare plan, they need to enroll in Medicare Part D, or they'll have to pay a penalty. So, sorry, I got that a little confused. The second part of that Medicare Part D notice is going online to cms.gov and telling CMS if your plan is credible or not. If you haven't done that, I strongly encourage you to go ahead and do that. That should be done within 60 days of your renewal. And you go to cms.gov, you can search Medicare credible coverage. There'll be a link that you'll click on. You'll enter some information about your company. And then it's going to ask you questions like how many employees or how many participants do you have that are Medicare eligible. Most of us don't know that number because we may not know if a dependent child is on Medicare or if a spouse is on Medicare. So I always say use your best judgment, your best guess. If you know you've got 7 people over the age of 65 that are employees, and you know those people are married to spouses who are over 65, then you know you've got 14 people at a minimum. You may know if there's a dependent child or not that's on Medicare. If you don't, again, just best guess. And again, this is Medicare, not Medicaid. So keep that in mind. If you don't know if your plan is credible or not, again, your account manager or account executive can help you with that, or I can help you with that based on prior notices or information that we may have in our system. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask for that information. So I wanted to give you, in addition to that little reminder, just a couple of updates that have came out of Washington out of the past couple of weeks. The first one is a Field Assistance Bulletin from the DOL. It's Field Assistant Bulletin number 2020-5, and it's about remote working under the Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA, and non-exempt employees. So again, we're all in the COVID world and we're 5 months into it, and they're just now issuing this information. Would have been helpful in March, April, but we just got it. So again, that was August 24th. The DOL's Field Assistant Bulletin, again, 2020-5, says that the employer has to use reasonable diligence to track remote employee hours. Again, this is for non-exempt or hourly employees. You basically, as an employer, have to pay them for every hour they've worked. So you need to have a policy or procedure in place to track hours or to put parameters around hours. And that's because if they're working their typical 8:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and you're getting emails from them at 9 p.m. or you're getting emails from them all day Saturday and Sunday, you know they're working more than their 40 hours or 37 and a half hours, whatever your hours may be. So you have to pay them for those hours, and it could be overtime hours. So you should have a work policy that says, here's your schedule, exercise reasonable due diligence when you're doing this, establish clear reporting guidelines so that you know when and how and where people are working, and then ensure that mid-level managers or supervisors across the board are aware of those policies and helping you enforce those policies. If an employee fails to report unscheduled hours, you're not required to pay them. But again, if you see an email coming through at 9 p.m., you know they're working. So just keep that in mind. Again, it's the non-exempt hourly employees. You've got to pay them for every hour they've worked. And that could include overtime. You just want to watch for those signs that they're working more than the 40 hours. It's, everybody's that's working from home is like, oh, great, I've got all this work-life home balance. But there also comes this point where it's hard to distinguish your work life from your personal life because you're at home, you're in front of your computer. Maybe you're doing laundry at night and you're like, oh, I've remembered this email. I need to go send it to somebody. If you're a non-exempt hourly employee, that's an hour you should be getting paid. So as an employer, you need to protect yourself with a remote work workplace policy and what those hours are. So if you have any questions on that, please be sure, let me know. That just came out, like I said, on the 24th. And the field assistance bulletin is about 4 pages long. We will link it to our Facebook page, our COVID-19 Tuesday Talk page, so that you can access that if you want to read it, again, in all your spare time. The other thing that came out was OSHA issued new guidance designed to assist with respiratory protection during COVID-19. So basically what they're saying is, due to a shortage of respirators, OSHA's issued temporary enforcement guidance allowing discretion when considering citations under the respiratory protection standard. Discretion is only applied when circumstances are beyond the employer's control to prevent compliance. So, maybe they can't get access to what's needed. The employer should be looking at other options, modifying practices, and ensuring avoidance of any danger. Non-compliance still violates the standard, but you must comply as soon as the supply chain issues are resolved. So it could be you're having trouble getting certain PPE, you're having trouble getting gloves or mask or plexiglass installed or whatever that may be. I would just document very carefully where the issue is lying if you're not able to comply with OSHA guidelines. I would also say that the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce is still selling mask, gloves, and no contact thermometers that you can get directly from the Chamber of Commerce. And I know they just recently issued new pricing on that. So let me see if I can find it. And we'll put that link on the Tuesday Talk page as well. Yeah, it's 3-ply mask. You can also get hand sanitizer. There's also a great working from home tool. I haven't used it, but it's it looks like you'll get a customized report on how to work virtually and ways you can improve, tips and suggestions based on your individual input to help maximize productivity and communications. But I do want to make sure that everyone is aware of the PPP order. So the no contact thermometers price has been reduced to $54.99. You can get gloves for $26.50. You can get alcohol wet wipes for $24. You can get disposable mask for $19.50. So that's a good resource if you're having trouble getting that information. And then the last thing that we've seen is on August 24th, the CDC issued new guidance on asymptomatic testing, and on the 29th on the antigen testing. So let's talk a little bit about COVID asymptomatic testing. What the new guidance from the CDC says is, if you've been in close contact within 6 feet of a person who has COVID for at least 15 minutes and you don't have any symptoms, you don't necessarily have to be tested unless you're told by a state or local public health official to do so. I'm going to use my family as an example. So my middle son, he contracted COVID. He brought it home to us. My husband came out with COVID. I, along with my other two sons, had not had any symptoms, but we all went and got tested anyway. We were all negative. I ended up going back with them a week later when they went to get retested so they could go back to work, and got retested, and I had COVID. I had very mild symptoms. The only thing I really did was I lost smell, I lost taste, and I wanted to sleep all the time. But it was very mild. So with that, and then this new guidance that come out, I've also heard that it's taking longer and longer to get test results back. What used to take 24, 48 hours is taking 3 to 5 days. Because of the free COVID testing sites, everybody's going to get tested because they either want to make sure they haven't been exposed, or they want to make sure they don't have it, or whatever that may be. But everybody's going. It's just masses of people going every day that don't necessarily need to be tested. So if you've been exposed and you don't have any symptoms, unless a public health official has told you to go get tested, or if you're in that high risk category, vulnerable individual with other factors, you don't necessarily need to get tested. The second thing on the antigen testing that came out on the 29th was that they have 4 different kinds of antigen testing. They have diagnostic, which identifies current infection with those with signs or symptoms; screening, which identifies infected persons who are asymptomatic and without exposure; surveillance, which is ongoing monitoring of a community or population level infection, not utilized for returning of a diagnostic test result to an individual or for individual decisions. So that's going to be community wide. And then rapid antigen testing. That is to detect the presence of a specific viral antigen. I know a few people that have had it. I know a few people that wanted to get it and they're having trouble getting into their doctor's office to get it. And I also know that there are certain facilities that are charging for the COVID testing, even though we have a regulation that came out in March and April that says COVID testing should be free. There's a whole thing with how providers bill to the insurance carriers and how they bill it. What I'm finding is if you go to your primary care physician or you go to one of the free testing sites, it truly is free. If you go to an urgent treatment center, you're probably going to pay a copay or going to pay a minimum amount because they are billing it. It's coming across differently because it's not coming across as a provider bill. It's coming across as urgent treatment center bill. So it's the urgent treatment center benefit. With that, I say, if you get a bill from them, let's have a conversation. Call Rose or Teresa at our office to help you navigate that with the insurance carrier, because those are supposed to be free of cost. I also know that there's some places that if you are asymptomatic, you just want to get tested to be tested, again, you'll pay a copay or a minimum amount. That's when I would say go to a free testing site. And I'm also going to add this. The rapid testing, I have been told by the health department, is not as accurate as the other testing, which takes 3 to 5 days. So by all means, do what you feel you need to do as a individual. But if you want to be 100% sure, I would recommend the 3 to 5 day, not the rapid testing. The rapid testing is also only done at the urgent treatment centers where you're going to pay more for it. So hit up one of the free drive-through testing sites. I know there's one at Richmond Road, Southland Church campus. I think there's one at Consolidated Baptist Church. There's one out on New Circle Road if you're in the Lexington area on the north side of town that you can drive through and be tested. So just some things to think about as you go into that, or as you're dealing with employees who are maybe coming to you and saying, hey, I went to urgent treatment center. They charged me $20. They said I was positive. I'm going to be off work for 2 weeks, whatever that may be. You know, just keep those conversations in mind when you're talking to folks. And that is all that I have for today's update. So we talked a lot about COVID today, and I suspect we'll start seeing more of that as the days come along. But if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask those in the chat now. I'll be happy to answer those. If you think of something after the fact that you think is important or you feel is important, do not hesitate to call me or email me. I'll be happy to answer those questions as well. And I am going to hold for just a moment to see if any questions come through. If you don't have any questions, feel free to leave the chat, and I will see you in 2 weeks, unless something urgent blows up between now and then. And stay safe and stay healthy. But I'm going to hold on for just a few minutes to see if we have any questions. Thank you, Lori. Anybody have any questions? I know we've got a few more people left on here. Oh, sorry. I meant to go this way so you can see my finger. All right, well, I'm going to go. I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and I will see you in 2 weeks.